Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for an album review. Toxic Holocaust, Conjure and Command. I went back and looked at some of my favorite LPs of this year so far, and this is definitely one of 2011's more grim moments. The personality and just attitude of this LP is so horrifyingly ugly that it really ranks up there with Death Grips for me. But this is not an experimental hip-hop album. It's actually a thrash album, the fourth to come out from this project, fronted by multi-instrumentalist Joel Grind, who up until this point recorded and performed all of his albums himself, his demos too. The stars have really aligned for Toxic Holocaust. Joel is not solo anymore. The project is performing with its best recording quality to date, and this album offers up some of the most immediate and pummeling thrash hybrids I've heard in a while. Because Toxic Holocaust is not just a thrash metal band. There have always been elements of hardcore punk, crust punk, and black metal powering the sound behind this music too. But on Conjure and Command, the aroma of black metal is kind of fading in the air. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually think it's led to something with a lot more impact. Even on my first listen, this LP was getting me really pumped and excited, like some of my thrash crossover favorites. I know this doesn't really have a classic sound like something from the Cro-Mags or Suicidal Tendencies may, but I still get that same feeling here of just this unstoppable force. The sound of this release is a little different from previous efforts. There's little to no reverb on this thing. It's not really drenched in effects. It's pretty dry, actually. Very lean, but beefy as well. It's nothing but muscle and bone, dismembered limbs and corpses. And it sounds so good on my stereo when I crank this thing. Oh, it's so good loud. The drums are fantastic. The snare is really nice and punchy. The cymbals aren't mixed too high like they were on previous Toxic Holocaust LPs. And the rhythm guitars have a nice coarse, grinding texture to them. It's kind of like rubbing my fingers across some sandpaper or getting dragged across asphalt by a rope tied to the back of a pickup truck. And Joel Grind's vocals, for me, he walks this perfect tightrope act of just being so forced and so loud that it holds my attention, but he's not so extreme that I get tired of hearing him really quickly. Overall, the sound of this album is very filthy, it's very thick, it's very grimy thrash album. All the songs are covered in this really similar griminess. So much so to the point where when some of these tracks fly by, even on the second listen of this LP, you might get the feeling of, oh, this is samey. But believe me when I say that that's not the case. My eyes, my ears kind of needed to adjust to the apocalyptic fog that these songs bring. So this thing did offer a little bit more every time I listened to it again. And actually, it wasn't until my last listen that I really started getting into the lyrics. And basically the words are about every ugly, terrible thing that mankind has ever done. Lots of imagery of dying breaths, being hunted down by a murderer, eating the rotting flesh of dead dogs, nuclear fallout. There's even a track on here where a woman is being burned at the stake, because, of course, she is being religiously persecuted. Though the ugly picture is nice, what I like most about the lyrics is that most of them are detailing a story, and that's what makes them really stick with me. But even the less wordy moments on this LP still come off really great to me because the sound, the riffs, and the energy are all high quality. Because this thing is a thrash crossover record, it's more of a focus on the grooves, the breakdowns, the momentum of these songs. Not really the flashy musicianship that may pull some metal fans into their favorite thrash albums. But I will say these guys are not as punked out as a lot of crossover acts may be, because there are some spots on here where I do notice some nice guitar solos, even if they're short. I notice some key changes and some harmonious guitar layering that I think a more punked out band would avoid. And even though Toxic Holocaust doesn't change it up a lot on this album, it's not like I really need them to. This thing only lasts 33 minutes. I only have 10 tracks. It's a nice quick shot of and this album definitely serves as a nice, modern middle ground that I think metal fans and punk fans can approach with excitement. I'm feeling a decent to strong 8 on this. Loved the hell out of it, really enjoyable. But what do you think of this album? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Why? And what should I review next? Thanks for watching. Love you. Anthony Fantano, Toxic Holocaust, forever.